Okay, good evening. This is Huntley Community School District 158 Committee of the Whole meeting for March the 9th. It is 6:04. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentry?
Here.
Mr. Guerin?
Here.
Mr. Troy?
Here.
Mr. Quagliano?
Here.
Mr. Daly?
Here.
Mrs. Maiorino? Here. Mr. Craig?
Here. Item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. We have light students.
Got one.
Oh, we've got more than one.
Okay,
there we go.
Right there is perfect. Where's Miss, Radloff or the, Selby, I believe it's in the overflow room. Perfect.
Good afternoon, good evening. All right, so we're going to do, are you guys ready to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay.
So the flag is over here. All right, these are our light friends. All right, whenever you're ready, we're going to go do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, introduce yourself and we'll take a picture.
Yeah, thank you.
Say, my name is.
My name is Emil Balo.
Make sure the lights on.
My name is Neil Ballo.
Jonathan Mayo, thank you. All right.
My name is Matthew Cordero. My name is Alan Doyle.
Good job.
And she doesn't talk, this is Annika Teeter.
Great job. All right, if we didn't say it for those that are here, this is our Students from Our Life program. Very grateful that you're here tonight. So, lead us in the pledge.
That way.
Oh, I can, yeah, let me help you. You okay? Yeah.
Good place for that.
All right. You ready? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Item 3, student recognition. We have the ISA State Chess Tournament bronze medal. Presenting.
Hello, my name is Jacob Halverson. I'm the chess coach at Marlow Middle School. Push the button. My bad. Hello, my name is Jacob Halverson. I'm the chess coach at Marlow Middle School. This was our first year representing District 158 at state. And despite only a few weeks of practice, the 7th grade team placed 7th out of 30 teams. One Canada student was Kevin Anbu, won a bronze medal for winning 6 out of his 8 matches. I'm so proud of him and the team for doing so well.
Hey, you want to come around? Here you go. Hey, congratulations. Hey, nice job. I love that. Nice job. Nice job. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations.
There you go. Okay. I think I got it all. 1, 2. You can come over here.
Thank you. I'm ready. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was just me.
Okay, next, recognition, National Merit Finalist. Rabila, right?
Hey, good evening. So I'm here with two students, both Megan Laird and Nora Stevenson. So a little bit about National Merit, and kind of how we get to this point of having National Merit finalists. So over 1.5 million entrants going to taking the PSAT NMSQT test back in October. And out of that, 50,000 of them are scored at the highest, and that's writing and reading and language and math and all the test scores kind of put together. Out of that, in September, we're notified that about 2/3 of that 50,000 move with a letter of commendation. And then moving from there, in February, we receive notification about 15,000 finalists or semifinalists move on, and then from there, we go from 1.5 million down to 7,500 across the entire country, and we have 2 students who have reached that top and have made it to the finalists, who then receive scholarships, and there's a lot of companies that sponsor and support these scholarships. So both Megan and Nora, who are currently undecided in their journeys post Huntley High School, have received this honor. So we invited their parents and invited them to come be recognized, because this is a huge honor for them and an accomplishment for them, and we are just proud of the work that they have done in their time at Huntley. So here's Megan and Nora.
Are you making congratulations? Nice job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Wonderful job. But you earned it. Nice job. Great job. Great job. Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations, Megan.
Straight line and we go all the way. So, on behalf of Glenn Wilson, our athletic director, who is doing some athletic director work right now as we get ready with spring sports, I want to bring a team in front of you who they seem to always be here for recognition, which is awesome. Their parents are here, and we got to celebrate with them in Bloomington as they took second place in IHSA state. We were only 0.4 of a point away from state champion. I just keep bringing it up because I want them to know how awesome they are, and the competition was crazy this year. But the amount of energy, I will tell you, the fortunate ability I have as a principal is to be able to, after school, leave my office and walk around and see some athletic practices, and Mr. Wilson and I both take time to watch the process. And it's watch the process where our students are sometimes having to redo stunts and routines and get ready, and during sectional week in the last hour, and be able to see our kids perform at a very high level. And our cheerleading team has done just that. Super proud of them under the direction of our coaching staff, who is new this year, and making it to the state championship floor is absolutely amazing. I am proud of the work that they have done. We are losing a lot of seniors. Seniors, raise your hands. Like higher. There's a whole lot of them, yes. And there are a lot of them that could not be here today, just for other commitments that they have or sports that they're playing. So I want to take a moment to just recognize them and say congratulations for the work that they have done and the accomplishment of making it second in state. So.
Lead the charge. Okay. Good job. Well done. Well done, ladies. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Graduating. Oh, good for you. Good. Coming back next year?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Wow.
You're returning next year?
It's almost kind of like a Jolly Rancher.
That was for appreciation.
Ready? I'm like zoomed in. Oh, Marcus.
I got it there.
Okay, all right. That's now. Bye. Oh, you're welcome.
I know, I'm gonna get them for probably.
Okay. On item 4, which is public comment, I have one public comment here, and that would be Elizabeth Pineda. And Elizabeth, we are, just so you know, our public comment, we're limited to 3 minutes. If you start to go over, I'll make you aware that the time, I'll give you time to close up.
Thank you so much.
Just so you know.
Hi, good evening. Hi, good evening. My name is Elizabeth Pineda. I am the regional manager from ABM Janitorial Company that provides the janitorial services for the district for the last 5 years. And since we have read the statement on the agenda under item 6.3, I would like to address the board on behalf of ABM and ABM employees. And first, I want to say thank you for giving ABM the opportunity to provide janitorial services for School District 158, especially during the pandemic. I wish we were given the opportunity to discuss and present ABM proposal, open it on January 27th, but we respect any decision that is going to be made. In a point of 603, you guys going to hear actually our performance issues. So I would like to just say quickly what actually we've been dealing with. The way I read the agenda, the main reason why ABM is not considered for the next contract terms were cleaning complaints. We were aware of few complaints during our time in Huntley, but if you survey principals or teachers here at Huntley, I am sure you would find overwhelmingly positive comments and satisfaction with our services. We had staffing issue around the pandemic, as every business with near minimum wages staff that they have. But we were transparent with our challenges and brought solutions to overcome those. We came to School District 158 twice during the last 2 years to set appropriate wages increases. As last year, we absorbed and split some of the increases with the district to show the partnership and a good faith. After July 2022, with the pay at $15 per hour, we have been fully staffed, and even we were sending candidates to another district to help. Even with those challenges, ABM delivered on the contracted hours during school days, and even provided additional hours for disinfecting and electrostatic spraying. To touch on the financial data that is going to be presented to you a little bit later. In a proposal, actually, you're going to hear that actually GFS is going to be proposed as a cleaning company to take the contract over. We propose as ABM 2 less FTEs, which is going to produce $65,000 per year savings. ABM proposed 1 week vacation and six paid holidays when GSF is not planning to pay any holidays for people. There are 265 working days in a calendar with 240 working days in a contract. It means that our people, your people, are not going to be paid for 25 days in a calendar year, but they have bills to pay. In 2019, people asked us for the wage increases to be given in the format of the holiday pay. Knowing how important it is for our people, we converted those wages to 5 paid holidays, and in 2022, we added additional 1 paid holiday on ABM Day.
Elizabeth, can you start to wrap up your comments? You surpassed your 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
GSS proposed to spend $90,000 per year more than ABM on supplies and equipment. In the comments later, you're gonna hear that we didn't have any problems with supplies or equipment. We proposed to leave existing equipment actually for another couple years as a responsible, sustainable contractor and repair them as needed. And GFS wants to bring new equipment and replace it every 2-3 years. The equipment that actually the district provides for you and for us that was listed in a bid also actually is between 5 to 10 years old, which is pretty good quality and is maintained well.
Can you wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So what I'm asking, we're not perfect. We had our issues, but we're dealing with them. I asked board to review bids information further and to give ABM opportunity to present our proposal. We would love to give an extra year contract extension with 5% increase, and this money to go to people, not to equipment, not to supplies. People are our assets, and if you guys are willing to spend additional $200 per year, please give it to people. People need to have livable wages, people need to have paid holidays, and people need to have affordable benefits actually that their family can be insured. We believe happy employees are good employees.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. Cavallano?
Yeah.
I know we're still in public comment,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking that maybe we could add this in. We have a light student who just arrived because of the weather and would love to be able to introduce himself and hear a little bit about his experiences in the light program, if we're okay to do that.
Absolutely. Yes, would love to
Thank
hear.
you.
All right, so Elijah actually came all the way out here from Schaumburg from his family's restaurant, so he just missed the pledge. So we wanted to allow him to introduce himself to the board, and we're going to ask him just a quick question that he can share some information with you. So we'll let him introduce.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Elijah Ono. You know me from Lawrence Ono. He might have been in the light program just like me, so he's my big brother. So what I enjoy about the light program is that we get to interact and go out to field trips. That's my favorite. And we also get to know each other, see each other at school. As we see each other out and about with each other, without being in school sometimes. We like the light program because it's where we can interact with each other, also gauge like or just measure like how far we can go with even our intellect, what we've learned. Miss Leslie Fisher has been the best teacher I've ever had in a very, very long time. He has helped like at least 17 of us, maybe more. He has helped all of us throughout. She has helped all of us with our homework, our schoolwork. She has helped us with stocks because I specialize in stocks and a lot of money. Everybody loves money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, true.
Anything else?
So my dream is to either become a WWE wrestler or to become a comedian. Most likely it's leaning towards comedian.
Okay. That's good. You got
See, all of you are laughing.
You got it. No doubt about it.
Can we take a picture?
Please, yeah.
Please, let's take a big shot.
Nice to meet you.
See you again.
I have lots of them.
Very familiar.
In the talent show.
Very good to meet you too. Thanks for driving all this way. How's the snow out there? Horrible. Okay, it's gotten worse. Well, thank you for doing that.
Everybody pray that we get home safe. So we're doing, like, if you order online and call the restaurant, they'll get your order ready, get it ready, and so it's just like pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, let this family own a restaurant, right? What's your family's restaurant name?
The restaurant name is called BC's African Restaurant, BISI African Restaurant.
Really good. Good. Come back again. Okay.
Hey, I can't forget you. I will. All right, cool. So right over here.
Hey, I was gonna say, here we go, all right, are you ready? I see you. You're covering her up.
Thank you so much.
I'm about to grab my stuff before I leave them. Take care, everybody.
Be safe. You too.
Bye.
Okay. We're on to item 5, which is revision and adoption of the agenda. I'll make a motion to.
We need to, Dr. Xerox, that we remove item number 7.
Okay. Sure. Is there anything else, any other modifications? Then I'll make a motion to approve, the agenda as presented, with the exception of the removal of item 7, Human Resources Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Quagliano?
Yes.
Mrs. Iarino?
Yes.
Mr. Garin?
Yes.
Mr. Craddy?
Yes.
Okay. Item 6 is Building and Grounds Committee, Mr. Troy.
Thank you. All right, item 6.1, O&M updates. Mr. Rinkosik, anything to highlight on here for the board?
Yes. Just to advise the board, we're on track right now to be scheduled at public hearings with the Village of Algonquin for a little bit of solar we're adding for the EV bus charger support in the month of April. And also in the month of April, we're sending an application in to be at Lake in the Hills Village for the community solar opportunity. So it'll be a busy month. The backstop netting at Huntley High is down to a punch list right now, in a pretty good place. You'll find at your place a quarterly report from our partner Forefront Power on the solar production, and you probably noticed that we're in the 75–78% range on performance on each of the accounts there, and they assured us they're not concerned. I do recognize we had some very cold snaps in this quarter, and the panels were a little snow covered, but there's no concern with making that up. We did very well last year, so no concern there. And last thing I would like to bring to the board's attention is I'm excited to learn of the opportunity and invite ComEd has a partner they're working with to come in and do a carbon-free assessment of the school district. There's some information in here highlighting what that program is all about. It's a no cost to the school district, and they'll evaluate our facilities and our operations. Our typical energy assessment evaluates solar opportunities. I don't know what they'll find there, but electrification opportunities in our school district was a big push with CEJA right now. They'll help us evaluate the rest of our vehicle fleet for EV opportunities and help us find potential grants. Other ideas like mechanical installation, but they'll also afford us an opportunity to be assessed for a thing called a well certification. And a well certification is it's a certification that recognizes much more than that. We're evaluating right now if we want to participate in that program. And it has to do with things like air, water, nourishment, light, movement in the building, how we're designed, sound attenuation design, mental health, and community. So there will be reports offered by the program, and it's all no cost. They just tell us how we're doing, and they'll put cost opportunities for us and help us find grants and give us return on investment. So it's a no cost effort for us to continue our sustainable journey.
Yeah, I met them at a conference last year, or representatives from that organization, so I'm familiar with their work, having talked to them pretty extensively, actually. So very good. I'm glad to see they're getting engaged here as well. So anything else to highlight on the O&M update? Okay, nothing else. Any questions about the O&M updates from the board? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item 6.2, change order number 3 to the agreement with Verigy. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. As the project is moving along, there's some minor adjustments. We learned of an opportunity as technology has evolved. There are a bunch of raceways that were stubbed into this facility from outside the building near where they were going to enter the building with their conduits for the electrification bus fleet initiative and the solar that's being added to that. And talked to Mr. Bazinski, and in today's age of technology, there was no need for those extra boxes for any kind of future cables for any kind of media or communication. So we afforded that them, and that's the biggest line item on here, a credit that was provided, and that offsets some of the other little bumps in the road and the cost there. And we learned of the idea that we might want to just stub out an additional conduit and box for any future expansion beyond 12. I don't know if you've heard, a lot of our peers are in the southern Collier counties I've met, they're a little far ahead of us on electrification of their bus fleet, but it seems like a trend that may continue. So for a few $1,000s, it'll make it a whole lot easier. In addition, in putting the proposal together, Verigy didn't recognize what was coming with the issue of native pollinators that I'm sure the environmental defenders in the village will want us to plant in the little enclosures. So we guided them to some partners that we found very successful in that area that we're talking to about other things and our on-site vegetation. And there's a little expense in there for that. So that's about it.
I believe I've read that the net increase was under $4,000. for the change order, so. Any questions from the committee about the change order? Any questions from the board?
I just have a quick question. What would, any idea what the yearly maintenance for like, yearly maintenance for the pollinators, like in future? I know it's to be determined, but like an estimate, or something like that?
Yeah, they're saying in the first couple of years it may be 5,000. It might be. What they have to do is for something like this to be very successful, for the first few years, while the plants that we want to grow and mature in this ground are trying to get a good root zone built, we have to keep the invasive species out. So there's some herbicide treatment, some hand maintenance of trimming and things that have to be done. Everything I've learned about this in about 3 years or so, it'll subside to nothing.
Okay, so we just got to put in a little bit extra in the front end just to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's discussion right now, the reason it's not in here is because there's discussion of who's going to own that. I asked our partner, we might be interested in entertaining supporting that expenditure out of our grounds maintenance budget, but would we have permission to go in there and close the area, if they're owning it, so to speak. So we're talking about that right now.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are these like native grass type of pollinators, or native to this area, or are they non-native, or would you not know?
Yeah, what we're looking at is very similar to what we have with the Forefront Power native plantings, and native being native to McHenry County.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's things that are low growth, and so the invasive species are very robust, and so they grow up and shade the native species, so you have to trim them back for a while until the root zones keep them out of the way.
Okay. Any additional questions from the board? Any objections from the committee with moving this forward then to the board meeting next week? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move that ahead. Item 6.3, the custodial services contract.
Yeah, thank you. Back in early December, when we realized that this contract, the existing amendment number 7 of this contract was coming up to expire in the spring, I did a poll of some of our stakeholders to see if we were satisfied or if we wanted to look for something better. I've had some experiences that I've been involved with, give me a little bit of concern. And I will tell you that part of my goal is for continuous improvement around here in the O&M department. Our motto, foster a clean, comfortable, safe learning environment for students, faculty, and staff, and want to continue to do that. There have been some bumps in the road. There are very good people. I've got multiple pages of testimonies here that I've gathered. There are some good things and there are some bad things. They've been a reasonable partner. But in the 4 years and 8 months that we've been working with ABM, we have not had a full roster, ever. They deliver a roster at least monthly, and they deliver one whenever there's significant changes in their roster. There are some pretty serious complaints that we've received, and it took 12 months to solve the problem of repeated interaction with them. And it got to the point there were some personnel changes, and then there was actually a leader of the building change, and they chose to actually put him in a high school, our busiest building, which is a question that I had, why'd you do this? And I didn't really get a good answer. Things like that have been of concern to me. I'd be happy to explore it more if you'd like, but I will tell you, we've heard a lot of feedback about GSF. They've got a presence in the Chicagoland area of being very successful. If it's time for something different, this would be a good place to go, it would seem. Actually, we have a short video we'd like to show you. Just got that ready, Chris.
Is so important in schools, and it has been due to the pandemic, but it's always been important. And this pandemic and the way that we're doing things now has allowed our customers and future customers to understand the value of clean, which they did not understand before. Sustainable cleaning is important to our customer in the fact that it allows their customers, which are the teachers, the staff, and the parents, to know that they're coming into a building that has good indoor air quality, that is clean and disinfected, and it's a nice environment for learning. So Rockford School District is a win for GSF because it highlights our strength. Our strength is the people. This is not a job, this is a possible career for our people. We promote within everybody that works in this school district now. Rockford School District has the opportunity to grow within GSF. That motivates people and allows us to succeed.
I started with GSF about 3.5 years ago as a day custodian for one of our smaller schools. I started picking up overtime and project work, and I just worked my way up to being a supervisor. The thing that I like most about working at GSF is that we're like a big family. We like to take care of our crew members and our customers.
The culture at GSF is unique to the contract cleaning industry. It is open, it is rewarding. It's just a fantastic culture that allows growth for each individual without boundaries.
GSF's approach to employee training is a little bit unique as we focus a lot on culture and customer service with our staff. It's not just about how they're cleaning the building, but it's making sure that they have that interaction with the customers and the students.
We demonstrate we care about clean with Rockford School District 205 by properly training our staff on high-tech equipment, working side by side with them on procedures that are very particular to Rockford, and really with that customer piece of working with the staff that's there and our staff that is coming on board.
GSF support their employees by giving them what they need to work with, new equipment, and it's a better environment to work in.
Some of the new equipment that we've brought into the school district include heavy use on robotic equipment. So we utilize robotic vacuums for our day-to-day vacuuming at some of our facilities. Most recently, we acquired a T16 robotic scrubber. The T16 robotic scrubber is great because on top of the fact that it's a 70% water savings using it, and it allows the employees to focus on a different task, it also sends reports to the manager letting them know what was done with the machine on a daily basis and how it was used.
Robotic equipment supports our cleaning staff by allowing them to hit the high priority areas more often and augmenting them by cleaning the floors as well. So it's not so much robotic floor care, it's cobots. We work with our staff and the robot together to raise the quality.
The benefits of the Ecologic cleaning program are standard operating procedures and a third-party certification that we are cleaning buildings correctly.
The safety and sustainability benefits of ECAS are that because it's generated on site, it doesn't create any waste of plastic. There's no waste of bottles or boxes being delivered. We generate all of our chemical on site and dispense it all on site. The biggest safety aspect of it is because we don't use any dyes or additives. There's absolutely no irritants to the skin or the eyes. It's completely safe for the employees and the staff.
GSF is a great company to work for. They care about their schools, they care about the people in their schools, and they care about their workers.
In a nutshell, schools should want to work with GSF because we are the best out there. It's because we care about them, we care about clean, we care about people. Our relationships are long-term with the schools, and they will continue to be so.
I wanted to just also bring to the board's attention, GFS in their proposal, they've advised us that after 1 year of service, there's 5 days vacation. After 3 years of service, there's 10 days vacation. They have a merit pay system for people that do perform well. And they have an investment program if somebody wanted to invest some of their funds, a savings account. There's a term for it, it escapes me.
401k match.
A 401k match, that's what it is. Thank you, Mark. We do recognize the initial added expense. We've talked to them about how to bridge that to soften the blow over the initial 3-year contract period. They've agreed to limit the increase to a 3% increase in the first 3 years to help with that a little bit. I've written some other things on here, but I'm not going to repeat them. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Or if Mark, do you want to add anything?
No, not this time.
Any questions from the committee or the board at this time?
How many different referral sources did you check on?
There's the very last page of the memo. There are several school districts testimonials here on the very last page. There's 5 or 6 on here.
Yeah, I see it.
They have a larger presence. I know in our travels on IASBO, Mark and I, we hear about them.
Okay, so, it's 185, I think that was no difference. I mean, so what accounts for that, in regards to?
There are 2 more, the difference in FTE, I think that's actually in there.
More people.
Yeah, there's a little bit more in personnel. 49.6 versus 47.76. Interesting to know, presently we're at 48.03, I think, so, that'll be.
It sounded like you felt you've been looking to have a few more and they weren't available.
Well, there is some services that are in this proposal that's part of the increase for work that we were paying for by the hour. Now it's fixed in the contract. One is cleaning our buses, cleaning and disinfecting our buses. That's built in, no additional cost. And the thorough cleaning of the stadium bleachers after games, I was pretty sad to see how they were, and it's something that in my department, has probably not paid enough attention to. But we caught the wind of it before the end of the season and tried to catch up. But I recognize that it needs more time out there doing that on a regular basis. They have more investment.
The existing vendor, we were paying additional for those types of things?
Yes,
Okay.
we were.
But we were having trouble getting manpower to service those items?
Well, we did have a conversation with them, and they say that they did provide full staff at all times. What they did is they did have a sub list, or they did use some overtime, but I managed my own staff for quite a number of years before I came to work in District 158. And I will tell you, any employee that's new to an area, there's a learning curve to learn what your job is, what your role is, and what the expectation of your customers is. And you need to invest in spending time with them, and it takes close to 2 months for the average person to get everything just right all the time. And when you have constantly throwing subs in on things, you're not going to get everything on a regular basis. And we've had a few places like that in the district, I'm sorry to say.
Any questions?
Nothing additional. I spent a fair bit of time with Mr. Troy, and the team asked most of my questions, and I think ultimately the additional FTE, the additional services that were offered, and kind of the consistency based on the feedback of reputation seems to be warranted for a bit of a switch here.
I did want to share with the board at this time something that I've noted this now. This will be, if this goes forward, it will be a change in contractor the 4th time since I started to work here, I believe. And there are some good people here. Some of the feedback I got from some people, there are some superstars in this team. And my experience has been that the new partner comes in and invites everybody and has a process for application, job fair kind of thing, and invites them in. And a lot of the people remain and stick around with the new contractor. And we can hope that would continue if this transition would take place.
I mean, it's my recollection with previous changes we've had. A fair amount of those existing people ended up working successor vendor.
I just don't want to see our athletic director have to clean up a spill during a tournament after hours in our district, and because the custodians don't answer the radio, things like that. We got to get beyond that.
Any additional questions or comments from the board? All right. With regards to the committee, are we as a committee in favor of that, moving this forward, or presenting this differently?
The administration's making a different recommendation than as far as structure, right?
Yep, Mr. Craddy?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll go ahead and move this forward then, to the next board meeting. And that takes care of buildings and grounds for the evening. Thank you.
Mr. Guerin, you have curriculum instruction.
Thank you very much. Number 8, curriculum instruction. 8.1, the math curriculum review, professional learning contract. Dr. McCrindle and Dr. Zlemke.
Good evening. Tonight we are bringing forward our Year 2 proposals for our continued math review professional learning contracts. And as a part of that, we thought we would use this time to provide you an update on how our math review is currently going at the K-12 level. Our objectives this evening are to review our guiding principles for our math adoption process, to share how illustrative math and Carnegie math is going currently, and then discuss our plans for professional learning for next school year. Back when we began the math review process about, I would say 18 months ago, we had 3 guiding principles that we were hoping our final recommendation would be. We wanted our math review for K-12 to be best for all students. We wanted to ensure that it was inclusive of teacher voice and full consensus from the team. And then the piece that we added to this math review that we haven't been quite as intentional about in the past or prior reviews was supporting our teachers with ongoing professional learning. And that's been an intentional focus for us. So this began with us creating a K-12 Huntley 158 math vision statement, and Dr. Bagsby created this document along with Ms. Lemoyne. I think there's a copy up there for you. But what that started as was a group of K-12 teachers last summer coming together and saying that we believe all students in Huntley District 158 will be empowered to think and act like a mathematician by solving problems in multiple ways as they think critically and persevere through engaging mathematical tasks. And we were able to get all K-12 representatives. There were teachers at the table, coaches, administrators around creating this. And it was our commitment. And so we've used this as our guiding focus as we have continued our implementation of math throughout the school year. One of the conversations that we had was why was there a need for a change in our resources last year and also that additional professional learning? And at the bottom part of that math vision statement that you have, you can see that what we started to articulate, what we felt like our students should be able to do. We wanted our students to see themselves as thinkers and doers of math. We wanted them to develop a deeper, more connected understanding of math. We wanted them to formulate ideas and clarify thinking. We wanted to learn to value the ideas and contributions of others in the classroom. We wanted them to learn to critique the reasoning of others, have a chance to reflect and self-assess, develop a sense of agency in their learning, and develop that growth mindset. And as you can see, there are a lot of elements of personalized learning that we strive to do within our district, embedded in our philosophy and our plan as we're rolling that out. So at this point, we're very excited to say that it is going extremely well at our K-12 level in different ways. We want to highlight what that looks like. I want to give Ms. Moan a huge thank you for her support throughout our K-5 implementation this year with our math leaders. We have about 67 teachers currently using our illustrative math curriculum. And what I have right now are a few clips of just what it looks like in our classrooms. I know you don't get to come in our rooms all the time, but Ms. Lemoyne and Ms. Moore on our communications team put together a professional learning video for our teachers that some of them viewed it today and over the next couple of weeks. And through that, we were able to show you just a glimpse of it. So this first video is one of our second grade classrooms over at McCaven here on this campus in Ms. Flores' room.
All right, are you ready for today's math warm-up? Yes. All right, second grade, please look up here on the whiteboard. Today's math warm-up is asking, what do you notice? What do you wonder? I'm giving you 1 minute of quiet think time. Go. Some of you, I know, are still thinking. What do you notice with your eyes? What do you wonder with your brain? Before I invite you to turn and talk about your thinking, I need you to be respectful of each other's voices. So I need someone to talk first, someone listen, and then I need you to make that switch. Are you ready? Would you turn and talk about your math thinking? Go.
I noticed that one goes forward and one goes backwards. I noticed that it starts at 8, then ends at 12, and starts at 12 and ends at 8.
So that's one of our second grade classrooms, and you can tell already just the engagement from our students, their excitement, their talking, and it's very exciting to see when we go into any of our classrooms right now, we're seeing that and hearing that. We also have a clip from Miss Lasock. She's a 4th grade teacher over at Martin. I wanted you to be able to see it up at that 3rd through 5th grade level, and this is her working with a small group of students.
I love how you got through that, and now you're changing your thinking. Good job.
E is true because this is 30 hundredths or 3 tenths, and this placeholders.
Good job.
This is equivalent. F is equivalent because 1.1 tenths is 1 whole, and 10 hundredths. And once again, the 0 is a placeholder. So.
All right, leave your workbooks at your seats. Just come back to the carpet. We're going to discuss what you found in some of these. Great transition back. Thank you, Malik. Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Eileen. Did any stand out to you guys as a little tricky? But I loved, because I heard friends saying it tricked me, but then you were able to explain whether they were equivalent or not. So did it trick you, or did it just make you think a little harder? It did. Which ones made you think a little bit harder? Kane, which one made you think a little bit harder?
D made me think a little bit harder because it's in tenths spot, but 3 tenths is actually just equivalent to 30 hundredths.
Absolutely correct, and that's what I found other groups saw as well once they were comparing them. Good job. If you found one...
So you can see that students are able to use the math vocabulary as well as engaging in the math and taking that agency and ownership and having those conversations with each other. So it's been very exciting to see that transition in our illustrative math classroom. So over at Conley, one of our 5th grade teachers, she asked her students just what they would like about math. And what they said is, I like this better than last year because it's more fun and you focus on one thing for a certain amount of time and then you master it. For example, I was really bad at partial quotients, but after working on it, I got a lot better at it. Another student, this is Miss Brookie's room, I just thought of it, Dr. Hoyer, I was trying to think of which classroom. But they said, lastly, I love, 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 and that was her all caps with 3 E's on the love. Learning about the style of math we're doing other than before because I feel like I understand it better than I did this last year too. And then that last comment with math, I feel like this is harder than last year and more of a challenge. I like that there's a lot more partner work and we get to help each other understand. So it's exciting just to hear from our students, even the comparison and the shifts that they're making and their thinking about math. I did include one more clip because out over at Martin in the 4th grade classroom, this young man describes it very well. Ms. Lemoyne interviewed him, so you'll hear her answering a couple questions and then him answering. Oh.
All right, can you start by introducing yourself for us?
My name is Michael. I'm in 4th grade. My teacher is Miss Lasock, and I learn at Martin Elementary.
Perfect, that's wonderful. Okay, Michael, can you tell me what your favorite subject in 4th grade is and why it's your favorite subject?
My favorite subject in 4th grade is math. I think my favorite subject is math, and I like it a lot because you learn lifelong skills that you could use at any time, and it might be needed.
Awesome, awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about what you were learning in math class today?
In math class today, we were learning about equivalent decimals to fractions. And we recently started learning about decimals and fractions.
Okay, awesome. So you've been in Martin since 3rd grade, right? How is your math class or your math instruction from Mrs. Lasak? Has it changed at all in the past couple of years? Have you noticed a difference?
Yes, I've noticed a big difference. We learn more vocabulary words. We have an open mindset because the workbooks back in 3rd grade, they just wanted us to write. There wasn't a lot of explaining, and we didn't have to use a lot of vocabulary.
And now you do. And does that help?
Yes, it helps a lot answering questions on like a test.
Awesome.
So he highlighted the fact of the math vocabulary and being able to have that growth mindset, which is one of our goals as well. And so we're seeing quite a lot of success with our students. Our K-5 teachers are also sharing some celebrations, such as my students are enjoying math lessons, they're talking more about math, and they're much better problem solvers. They've shared that I've changed the way I think about math. My students are more in charge of their learning. I love how the students engage with one another and can talk about the skills being taught. I've been able to see growth mathematically and socially because of this program. Hearing one of my students who needs the most instruction support proclaim that they love math. My students are enjoying math lessons. They're talking about math more and are much more better problem solvers. And so that's coming from our Huntley 158 staff and teachers, just seeing what they are seeing with students in their room, which I think is a huge celebration. I just want to show one more clip right here. This is one of our teachers, Ms. Suarez, 2nd grade over at McCaven, which you saw in her room, the first video clip here, but she's working with an instructional coach on her math instruction this year. And so her and her instructional coach, Ms. Bloomer, discuss what they've seen.
Oh my goodness, the math instruction has changed tremendously. It's definitely more student-centered than what I've ever taught before. The kids are at the forefront of their learning. I've been taking a huge step back. I'm now more of a facilitator. I like to call it with the kiddos a guide by their side. The kiddos are the ones that are actively doing the teaching, the learning, the questioning, the talking, the explaining, and I just kind of get to step back and offer support where they need it. That's probably been what I've noticed the biggest shift with the new program this year.
I've loved it. It's really helped me start these coaching cycles, and I think the data collection has been the big piece of like finding and collecting student evidence, and then being able to, like Karen said, track and see where they're at, who do we need to help, who do we need to target, instead of waiting until the end of the unit assessment.
We just wanted to show you a quick glimpse into what's going on in our K-5 classrooms, and I'm going to pass this over to Dr. Zlimke to talk a little bit about what math looks like at the 6-12 level.
Thank you, Dr. McCrizzle. I first want to really thank Dr. Bagby and our department chair, Ms. Parker, for their work and their efforts last year in creating this plan for implementation. We have a number of pictures that I could show you just through our social media presence, where we've had some opportunities to go into math rooms and look at math in action. And I see what we have created in terms of the vision. You know, kids really like sitting with their friends, working around the math together. We see students, you know, using their whiteboards at the table, collaborating with one another. You see really a hybrid of a number of different activities happening in class where, you know, at times there's teacher-led instruction, at times it's student inquiry, at times it's collaboration. You know, just looking in other areas throughout, it's really a give and take of ideas. We've seen some independence, we've seen some collaboration, and we see voice, we hear voice in the classroom at the 6th grade through the 12th grade level. Kids are engaged. They are working through the new curriculum alongside with our teachers. If you click the next one, you know, you still see, you know, really a combination of curriculum that is online, and then you see a combination of curriculum that's offline. You know, you have a picture there in the top right, you know, where I know Dr. Bagby looked at some, you know, student feedback here. You know, I'm learning a lot about math this year, and even though it's more challenging, which it is, my math teacher's making it fun. I was in there that day, tapes on the floor. We're learning about number lines. We're immersing ourselves, into the math curriculum. And really that's what we're seeing at the secondary level. The students really doing the math, following the math vision. Every day is a new day. Units are new for our teachers and for our students. But it's wonderful to walk into a math room and hear the conversation of students talking about math. Just the last one, sorry. Also part of the professional development plan, which Dr. McCrimmon will finish up with, shortly here, has also been a great amount of time. Whenever you have a new curriculum, you need time to try that curriculum, and then you need to get around the table and talk about what went well and where can we improve. And that's a nice design in this new curriculum that's being supported. Our teachers are absolutely saying our kids are talking about math. That is the number one comment we hear again and again. Students are re-explaining to other students, and the collaborations between the students has allowed engagement to go way up. Our students are not watching an adult do math passively. Our kids are doing the math and persevering through the math. And I think that's the biggest testament to our teachers and our students and our instructional leaders in 612 right now. One teacher said, I thank the student for participating. He said, I have to, I'm the reporter. They all have roles, they have clarity in their roles. It's a challenging environment, it's a collaborative environment. We have a chance from time to time to get into rooms, certainly to take some photos, but just anything, that's being said again and again. The kids are doing the math at the secondary level throughout a number of challenging courses, which is great to see.
So if we go back to what our guiding principles for our process were, we feel like we have been owning that part in showing that our outcomes that we are doing what's best for students, that we've been inclusive of including our teacher voice at the table, as well as consistency from the team. And that third part is that's supported by ongoing professional learning. And so those are the contracts that we have brought before you this evening to then push to the next board meeting for approval. And part of the design of this professional learning takes the idea from Learning Forward, who is a professional learning organization that many of us in education look to figure out the best standards for providing professional learning for staff. And they've taken the idea that instead of it being a one and done training session, we have to really be intentional about providing our teachers with multiple opportunities to experience professional learning, and then have that time to grow in their skill and their knowledge, which then that helps them transfer that to their practice, and then ultimately we'll see outcomes get better for our students. And we know that that takes time. And I think some of the feedback we received when we began this process was teachers felt like sometimes we stopped at just training and not continuing that process. And so we've been intentional in creating these opportunities for our staff. Our building admin have been essential in that process in helping to provide the time and the space and to use their instructional leadership to ensure that that can happen, along with our instructional coaches and our teacher leaders at the table. And so when we talk about professional learning and what that impacts for our K-12 math review, it impacts all of our K-5 teachers and related service staff. And so that's about 170 staff members, give or take. It also impacts all of our 612 math teachers and related service staff, which is about 45 staff members. We have been intentional about providing our paraprofessionals some support this year on how they can support these changes in the classroom. Our instructional coaches, our MTSS facilitators and interventionists, and then our building and district administration. And so we've thought through professional learning plans that can really help ensure all different stakeholders within our organization are able to support what we're trying to accomplish. And so how that looks is our teachers have been participating in just learning how to navigate and use materials. That's one. I need to learn how to use what I have. We've also embedded something that Dr. Rowe actually gave us the idea that he experienced when he was a principal over at Marlowe, but we have model lesson studies going in where a consultant teacher comes in and actually works with our own students, and our teachers have the opportunity to debrief on that. There's something to be said when you watch a video and it's not your own students to say that can work somewhere else but can it work here. And our teachers have really embraced this and bought into that model, which takes time, and it takes bringing in someone that's an expert to kind of do that. But we've been intentional about integrating that into what we've been doing with math. And then that third piece for teachers is that continued collaboration, so that we don't just say, now that you're trained on year 1, you're done. We want to continue that throughout year 2, 3, and beyond. And then for our coaches and our admin, we've been trying to focus on how do we build their own leadership capacity in supporting these changes. Because it's one thing to know about math and how to teach that, but our coaches are really at the table with our teachers, helping to ask those difficult questions and support them when they're struggling. And we want to make sure that we build our coaches' capacity to do that and have those conversations. And then that second bullet down there is continued in-depth professional learning on those shifts. So I think you see that that emphasis on that continued collaboration is what we hope to do. And as I said, those two different areas, that modeled lesson studies and then that focus on building our leaders' capacity has been an added piece to this review that we haven't really focused on this year, but it came from our teachers to make sure that we were intentional in planning this professional learning. And so those math model lessons that we were just discussing, this is our pie chart. It's kind of, the colors are a little misleading here, but the red and yellow is good, and the blue means that they did not like them. You can see 100% of the staff who have been participating in them find these to be beneficial, and it was only that 7.9% that said it was slightly there, but no one said no, so that's a positive. So when we're talking about the professional learning, some of the feedback we heard from teachers is that learning and practicing the difference between assessing and advancing questioning was amazing. Having that continued support on how to incorporate stations and small group instruction has been helpful. That my students are enjoying math lessons, they're talking about math more, and they're better problem solvers, and then that Erica recognized some of the stressors of starting a new curriculum, and that she was supportive and gave suggestions that are easily implemented to help them improve. And so we're hearing that directly from our teachers regarding professional learning. And then when we look at that professional learning for our coaches and our instructional leaders, there's been a huge emphasis on that ongoing partnership we've had with the Math Institute of Wisconsin in providing that ongoing support. The coaches are saying it's something that they've never experienced before. Normally they're a part of what the teachers receive, and then they don't get anything in addition to, and we have them in our teacher leadership role, but we want them to be able to act like that, and you can tell from their comments that they feel like they're able to do that. They've been excited about the multi-year plan of implementation. Instead of just saying 1 year of professional learning and done, we're continuing with that. And then that PD that's focused on not just how to use the program, but also on supporting coaches and building their capacity has made a big difference. And so we presented this about a year ago to you, but we're planning on continuing our professional learning next steps, and each year it kind of layers in. I did have to add that third column because we're doing that slow roll for elementary math, and so this year we've had that K-5 math leaders. Next year our K-2 staff are all going to be in on illustrative math, and the following year that 3-5 staff focus, and you can see that by the next 4 to 5 years, we will all hopefully land in the same spot with our understanding, and it just takes that, it's a puzzle piece to kind of put together, but we are very excited about providing this differentiated ongoing support for our staff. And so before I go to questions, the contracts that we have in front of you support all three of those different ideas. The ones from the Math Institute of Wisconsin are aimed at supporting not just it's aimed at doing those coaching, those modeling sessions in the buildings, as well as for our illustrative math. They're a trained, certified provider of PD for that curriculum. And so they're able to provide that to our teachers, just how to use our program, and then also that ongoing support. The second one is the one that's focused on the building capacity of our coaches. And then the third one in there is the Carnegie Learning, which is our 612 ongoing professional learning for next school year. And at this time, if you have any questions, we are happy to take them.
Any questions from the team or the board members?
I just had a quick question. So we have 3 contracts. We're looking at like 206, I think, the combined total for all of them. Is this something that as we roll out over the next, 3, 4 years, 5 years, will this be a continued cost to them? Will we have to continue with this level of coaching and training and from all of these different entities as well?
So because we have two different programs, K-5 and 612, it will always be two separate entities for sure, to provide that support. But each year, as we add more staff in, the cost should decrease. So it's heavier again because we're adding an additional 70 teachers next year to the K-5 rollout. And then there'll be one more bigger year of the contract. And then once they've all gotten their training, it should start to decrease. Because as teachers gain and grow their knowledge, we won't need to have as much support.
It becomes more reinforcement than it does
Well, the beauty of
learning
having-
from scratch.
The beauty of having our instructional coaches involved from the get-go is that gradual release from that outside support that they can then fill in for that continued support in the long term.
And so, I mean, I'm happy to see how many students are really enjoying the program. What about students who are struggling? What about students who, like, let's say last year, I mean, I'm hearing some students are like, it's more challenging this year and I'm loving this. It's, it's challenging me, it's pushing me. What about students that were barely holding on last year? I mean, they were barely making it. And now we put them into something that is challenging, more challenging. Are they falling further behind? What are we doing with students who are struggling to transition to this way of learning? How are we helping them?
Yeah, so that's where our MTSS structures come in place. We do provide Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions for math at the K-12 level by different types of support. But our teachers have been very intentional in identifying those students and trying to provide small group instruction in their classroom or working with them maybe through study hall or different times in their day. And so I think with what you're saying, as a new program comes, it takes a little time for the teacher to adjust too, right? And so as they get better with this, the more comfortable they'll be able to support students even better, but we have systems in place to help provide that.
But in total transparency, there are aspects of the new program that the kids don't love. So to our 612 kids, they don't love math yet. That's an online portion that there's a requirement for them to go through. Sometimes there's aspects of our learning that you have to have some grit and just work your way through because they're held accountable to what they're learning online in Mathia on their assessments. And it's not solely what's happening in the classroom. So we're broadening really in a hybrid approach, a blended approach in terms of what's being taught in the classroom versus what they're assessing as supplemental learning online. There's some accountability to that. And we know when teenagers in accountability, sometimes they're averse to that. But that's where our supports are in place to help them work through that. It's a part of the growth process, and it's an important part of it.
Right, yeah, because sometimes you hear the feedback that they feel like there's that perception that they're abandoned, like that they're not abandoned, but, I'm out there, I'm having to learn on my own, or I'm watching a video, my teacher isn't teaching me type of thing, and shifting to that.
I would say if they have that mentality, go talk to their teacher and say, I'm struggling, I don't love this, and the teacher will help them. I guarantee it. I've seen it in my own household, the frustrations of the Mathia, and then the conversation with the teacher bridges the gap for my own, and I've heard that from others as well. So if you hear of anyone struggling with Mathia, have the conversation with the teacher. That's always the best resource we've got, or our teachers.
Right. Shout out for the people in the back, right? So, okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Just to add a comment, I think overall, kind of addressing your concerns, it feels like this is exactly the thing you want struggling students to do, is that learning methodology is kind of a learning to learn methodology as well, which longer term should be more effective overall for everybody. And I think the cost here up front for teacher development, you did a nice job of redrawing the broad picture of what we're trying to do with the curriculum. And I think these expenditures fit right in with that, and making sure that the teachers get off the ground appropriately, in the initial stages. And I think it will be a better result longer term for, everyone along the spectrum, whether, high performing students now or lower performing students now.
You talk about the productive struggle, and that's the most, you think back to your education, you don't remember all the easy stuff, you remember the hard stuff that you worked your way through and came out strong for. This is part of it. And Mr. Quagliano talks all the time about the importance of math and learning how to solve problems going beyond math, just problem solving in life. And it's that productive struggle. It's very real. And if we can provide that environment for our kids in a safe and structured environment, then it's a win for them in the long run. And I couldn't be prouder with the, not only the support we're providing for our teachers, the challenge and, our curriculum directors and the support providing on the ground, so appreciated. Our teachers are doing really great work, and I know it's been hard, it's been a major mind shift for them, so a huge commendation to them for the work and dedication to our kids.
Just think through the kids who do struggle a bit and the opportunity they have to collaborate with the kids who can help them a bit along with the teacher, where in the traditional classroom setting from years ago, you'd sit there and lose yourself in the back of the room and daydream and just tune out. In this type of environment, you're engaged, you're talking about it, and even if you're not the best at it, you've got the opportunity to listen to others who are your age talk about it. You probably assimilate to that a whole heck of a lot better, and then ultimately it might start to click a lot quicker for you. So I think this environment provides all students the opportunity to really move forward in math. And I did witness this a couple months ago and watched in a short period. Everything I saw in that video, I saw in a 20-minute version of a classroom that just really amazed me. And as far as what was going on there with the kids discussing this and at the level they were discussing it and how they all had their different ideas and they were able to articulate their ideas. All that stuff watching that at a young age is just powerful stuff for learning and for them to move forward in life in general. So I just found that to be just amazing to watch in a math classroom of all places. In regards to because we're talking about professional development here, the other piece of it, talking to the couple teachers. It was a kind of a weird dynamic because you could see there's a little bit of trepidation with dealing with this, but I think they were still excited about it, what they were witnessing, and they were just still trying to, at that time, at least, it was a couple months ago, and they're still relatively new in it, they were trying to kind of still find themselves as teachers as to how the whole thing would operate. I think the additional professional development that we're doing here just is a great support to what they're doing. And like I said, I don't think there was anything negative about anything they were telling me. I think they were just saying it was new, it was different, and they needed to be able to adjust to it a bit, but I think they were excited, most of them were excited for what they were going through. And what I was seeing, I was extremely excited for what I was seeing as far as what I witnessed in the classroom. So.
Okay.
Even better, you're probably going to say the same thing I am, which is qualitatively through conversations with our principals in the mid-year school improvement data, the illustrative math classrooms at all levels are outgrowing the math that had not made the shift yet. And we anticipate we will put that together and show a side-by-side comparison, not as a negative to the teachers that haven't moved, because it's not about that at all. It's 100% about the instructional style in the classroom, how quickly the kindergarten teachers are saying in November in kindergarten, our kindergartners are on their own reaching and arriving at conversations that we don't have until April. And it's just they're jumping ahead because it logically makes that connection on their own with group conversation. So you fast forward that and qualitatively they're providing us with the feedback that the academic growth is outpacing what our expectations were. I hope that translates into the standardized test that we'll take come spring, but we do anticipate showing side-by-side comparisons of the growth of the new program versus old, so you can see all this money and effort is going in a good way.
I think the only thing I would add to that is I've seen quite a few different curriculum reviews, and our teachers have shifted. It's like the light bulb's gone off a little more quickly on this one, where they are feeling more comfortable. And I would agree with you. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, it was a night and day difference, and now you walk in and Dave, it's very valuable. It's a comfort level, and I think it's a lot to the support that we're able to provide us.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, actually. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different direction on this, or question. Because this is including your high school level math, how is this approach or coaching approach going with some of the higher level math classes when you get into your calculuses, and such courses? I don't remember off the top of my head the other ones, but because the material is just, it's different, right? And it's far more complex. So I'm just curious how that goes.
Yeah, sure. The same things that we're looking for at the at the middle school level, we're looking at the high school level, right? We want kids doing the math.
Sure.
So we get the feedback from the teachers in there. Not all of our courses curriculum are Carnegie. So one thing we have to recognize is that through the instructional coaching, through the professional learning, we're supporting all of our math teachers. And I was thinking, just as Dr. McCrindle was talking, of just kind of a brief little story, being in class, walking with our department chair, and we walked in kind of expecting to see something that was going to go on that next day, and they had an opportunity where they saw some data from students. They didn't do as well as they thought they would do, so they went back and they retaught. They looked at some more resources and materials, and they redrew up some lesson plans. And I think what we see at the secondary level, middle and high school together, is not only are the kids talking about math, but the teachers are talking a lot about, hey, how did that go? What do we need to change? What worked? What didn't work? Okay, something went wrong here. What resource can we pull? How do we reteach this and learn moving forward too? So you're seeing that everywhere.
Okay.
At the highest levels of math, sometimes those students have they perform well. They know how to function within a teacher-directed classroom. So there's going to be a transition point also in terms of, please share your thinking of what math looks like. Please share your thinking of how you arrive at that answer, and then they got to share with one another. So it's a good opportunity for students to share with one another the learning that they're doing.
I think for
even at the highest levels.
I think for clarity purposes, at those highest levels, like AP Calc,
Right.
college algebra, and your post-AP multivariable
Different
calculus, those courses are the same courses they
Right.
were before this, because they're separate curriculums.
It's a different world
Right.
at that point.
Yeah.
Algebra.
Secondary level, you're talking algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, and maybe some of the non McHenry County College course, AP course, post-AP.
I guess that's kind of where I was going at is how far reaching does this go? Because there's this full spectrum of math when you get to high school, where it's just a different world once you start getting into that multivariable stuff.
3 required courses of algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2.
Okay, thank you. That helps quite a bit. Thank you.
But I think Dr. Zucke's point, the principles of what Carnegie and illustrative math are pushing in terms of that collaboration, our long-term plan is how can you as a teacher incorporate some of those best practices of that collaboration into those upper level courses that have their own math.
Yeah,
Separate from our own.
because I like the concept of a collaborative effort, right? And once you start getting into those very complex courses, it helps to get those perspectives just the same as you do at an algebra level or an elementary school where the kids are helping other kids with this stuff. You speak the language, right? In those courses, you develop the vocabulary that goes into differential calculus. And by speaking that language, the kids are able to interact on that level too. So it's good, I think overall, that interaction does exist, regardless of the level, so that those students are able to help each other, regardless of the level that they reach. That's kind of what I was looking for. Thank you. You bet.
One more comment, just a quick question. So when we talk about, that collaboration, how are students transitioning when it comes to assessment? So they've got, they're working together in a group, kind of a few at a table or pairing up, and this is how they collaborate, and now we come to an assessment, and I assume that the assessment is not a collaborative effort, right? So how are they transitioning then when they have to lock down and it is independent work? Is that going smoothly for them?
It is. So each of the lesson designs have a time to do the collaboration that you're talking about. Then they have some time to do independent work, and then most of them, if not everyone, ends with we call them a cool down or a quick check, or I don't know what they're calling them in Carnegie, but there's an assessment they do at the end of class, but then it's independent, and so you're able to say, did what I just participated with Dr. Del Castillo transfer to my own independent learning?
Got it.
And some of that's also on Mathia, where then teachers can see what kids are learning and not learning on their own.
Okay, yeah, great, I'm done, thank you.
All right, Mr. Gentry, Mr. Troy, any issues with moving these contracts forward to the next meeting?
No, not at all.
Okay. I'd recommend that we do that and move to number 9, the Finance Committee.
Okay, Finance Committee, we have our purchase orders, interest checks, payables, disbursements listed. Any questions or concerns from anybody on the committee?
Here?
And, great, sorry.
Nope.
And then anybody else on the board have any questions concerning any items? That list? If not, we'll move those forward to the board for approval. Item 9.2 is the monthly fiscal update. Mr. Altmeyer.
Nothing else to add, fairly brief this month. So if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions concerning Mr. Altmeyer's report?
Just a general question on the extracurricular committee. I know last year we kind of had that discussion around, is there any sunset opportunities or swap outs?
Right.
As we look through that, is there any feel for how that might be going?
Yeah, those are discussions that the committee had this past month, and we continue to have those discussions. And so in the month of April, we will be presenting to the board the recommendations from the ECC, which will actually include some swap outs and some clubs that are no longer taking place, and certainly the addition of several new clubs as well, with the allotted dollars as part of the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had some conversations before, but I think I would have some interest in just getting a sense for participation rate overall, year to year, and kind of what type of growth we're seeing in terms of, is there think of it in terms of like a penetration rate type of thing of how many students are involved in some form of extracurriculars, and is that number shrinking, growing, or staying flat?
Well, yeah, it's really tough to say, because with the pandemic, right, over the past few years, certainly the participation in certain clubs has come down.
Right.
But this year, right, we are starting to see an uptick in a lot of the clubs and a lot of new clubs as kids want to move forward and continue to participate. So we will have some type of information I can present, but not necessarily hard line data, because year over year, we don't really track. We've got a lot of clubs, a lot of athletics, that we don't necessarily track every single, the numbers of students participating in every club. We do ask the question, how many students do you have participating? But throughout the year, that participation is at various levels, and it's not like 20 kids are here twice a month all year long. It's not necessarily as easy as that.
Sure.
Right, but you always are.
But I'll be able to get a pulse.
You're always aware if you've had, like a surge in wanting participation and whether to possibly add additional people on. I mean, you're always.
Oh, sure. Yeah, especially in certain clubs, ski clubs, or certain athletics, we do have that data. But in a lot of the other clubs, we don't really have to that level of detail over the years.
I would imagine as part of those discussions, what drives the need is higher numbers of students, so it's qualitative at least as part of it.
Oh, it's absolutely qualitative, just to make sure that if we're proposing a new club, that it does have numbers, and that there is, a potential need or desire to move forward with that club. I'll be able to give you a pulse at the next meeting on
Okay.
and I'll talk to the club owners and activity owners at the committee, at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion items on Strohmeyer's monthly fiscal update? Not, the activity funds report, anything on that? Anybody? Not, we'll move forward to 9.3, which is the revenue and expenditures report. Mr. Strohmeyer.
Thank you very much. In front of you, you have the January 2023 financial executive summary. Not a ton to report here. We continue to track within budget, although under budget, certainly for the month ended in January, based on the revenue stream and federal revenues and the things that we talked about last month. We do continue to track on the expense side, which is evidenced by the dashboard on page 2. Jumping to health insurance for the second consecutive reporting month, health insurance claims are north of 1.2 million, coming in at 1.341 million for the month of January, primarily, again, driven by large claims in the pipeline. You know, we continue to monitor and review that, but that's really all we can do at this point. As a result of these last 2 months, we are starting to track a little over budget on that line item. And that would be the first time that, well, we've done that in a long time, in a really, really long time. So we will continue to monitor health insurance claims. If you look at the report, you might notice that we used to report out weekly because Blue Cross Blue Shield, well, they billed us weekly for health insurance claims. In this interest rate economy, I don't know why they're choosing to bill us now monthly, but they're billing us monthly, which is fine with me. They're going to bill us monthly rather than weekly, so we have a little different of a look. So after 2 or 3 months go by, we're going to kind of shrink that down and just kind of shrink that reporting to total claims paid versus by week during the month. So just if you were wondering what that was all about.
Just tell me that 1 week that they are billing you at tail end of the month, not at the beginning.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So to make sure we didn't have 1.3 right off the bat.
Yeah, we're not prepaying. We're not prepaying any claims. As those claims come in, they're accumulating the 4 or 5 weeks in total and then billing us out.
Don't make a mistake too much.
Yeah. So thank you very much. With that on the dashboard, on the revenue side, we have 3 different items in red that you might notice: impact fees, Medicaid, and the IDEA grant. Starting with impact fees, although, you know, less than where I would like to be tracking with budget, we just received notice from the Village of Algonquin that they have a $271,000 check in hand, and we should be receiving that, well, probably this week, if not early next week. So we're going to be back exactly to where I expect we will be, and in fact, I think we will exceed budget on impact fees for the year. The more concerning line item is Medicaid, as we continue to have discussions with HFS on that. And I think what is going on is, you know, down HFS, working with PCG, they're proposing, and I've talked about this before, a state plan amendment to how school districts, educational districts will be paid for Medicaid. And so about 1.5 years ago, they submitted a state plan amendment, a SPA, not to the state level, but to the federal level, CMS, the Center of Medicaid Services. And CMS still needs to get their ducks in a row and approve this SPA, but I think what is also happening is HFS is still analyzing a lot of the data internally before that change is approved at the CMS level, and ultimately how it may impact current claims in the pipeline. And there's a lot more to it than just that. I mean, I could probably talk for about 45 minutes on Medicaid.
Please don't.
You don't want me to.
Please don't.
But we continue to work with HFS just to obtain a better understanding, and I really don't have a good understanding of it, other than I will tell you we continue to do everything that we have done in years past to continue to bill for Medicaid for eligible reimbursement services that drive this line item. And a lot of what drives this line item are one-on-one aides serving students that are Medicaid eligible. Any Medicaid eligible student that we have, we are ensuring that, well, the related service staff are doing what they need to do to bill for Medicaid, and we're billing. So the billing is happening, it's just that the payment is not forthcoming. So that's the good news. It's it's not internally, it's externally, and hopefully it's just a payment thing, with HFS.
Right, I mean, Medicaid is coming from, I mean, it's not a state agency, it's a federal agency.
Well, we receive our Medicaid, is the amount we receive is a federal match that the state receives, and then they pass through to
Right, so
us.
it's really the state will wait on the payment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But they're all over their paying their bills.
Not on the HFS side. There's been a lag, for a lot of districts. I've talked to.
Down there and shake that tree.
Shake that, I'm always shaking the Medicaid tree. And then the last, some of the special ed folks here laugh. And then the IDEA grant, versus prior year, we're trending where we should on that line item. It's a reimbursement line item. So, I have absolutely no concerns on the IDEA grant. And no real concerns on the expense side, other than the variability of health insurance that we previously discussed.
Right. So we're definitely,
We continue to track.
the interest earnings side of things is,
Oh, that's looking really good.
yeah. That's helpful. Okay, any questions concerning revenue and expenditure report?
Is there any risk of never receiving that Medicaid line, permanent loss of that revenue stream?
No.
Okay. It's a timing issue, truly.
Well, right now, it appears to be a timing issue. What I will say, it's part of the 45 minutes discussion that, I would love to have with you on a sidebar, but, with the state making a change, with the state plan amendment on the way in which school districts will receive Medicaid, there is a likelihood, there is a good chance that our district, because we do things really well, we're one of the best in the state at collecting Medicaid. Unfortunately, the reimbursement's going to be based on a lot of state averages. And you know what happens when you use averages? Well, those who do really well, they're going to get penalized, and those that don't do really well, which is the majority of the state, the majority of school districts in the state will win as a result of this state plan amendment. Unfortunately, there are several districts that do really well at collecting Medicaid. They may not collect as much Medicaid under this new cost settlement approach. So, although this line item will not go away, that is for sure, but it may change from a budget perspective and revenue perspective for the district, which to me, if you know my passion for this, it's a little frustrating. But we continue to try to work with HFS so that that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, well, you know that I'm going to be pounding on some legislative doors to look at that, because in my opinion, the SPA we should be held harmless, just like we did with everything else,
Right.
with the evidence-based formula. Yeah. So, there you go. Sorry, not 45 minutes, but a few.
Makes sense.
A few too many, but it's okay.
Just let us know if there's a witness slip that has to be filed. Just let us know if there's witness slip that need to be filed downstate, if it ever gets to that point.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions concerning a different item on the revenue and expenditure report? Okay, if not, we have 9.4 is our revenue contract. Right. It's singular. Okay, it's the dance team. Any issues with their world's finest chocolate?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at this, and they already started selling the candy. We got people come through to the door to sell. But my question is, who is the dance team? I mean, the dance season is over. The dance season ended the beginning of February. Tryouts haven't happened yet. Who's on the dance team that's selling candy?
Who came to your door?
The others, my kids blind. But I'm just wondering, the season's ended, and then you've got seniors that are graduating that are selling candy. So what are they doing with that money that they're making? Are they probably not, giving that.
The activity fund, right? You look at the activity funds and that's where the money goes, the activity.
Correct. And just because a season is over doesn't mean that the team doesn't get together to raise money for the club and for the team. It's very, very common that a lot of fundraisers are, calendar driven, if you will, during the school year and not necessarily during the in-season time, right? It happens with a lot of clubs. And I can't tell you the absolute specifics because we have so many clubs doing fundraisers, right? Every club is eligible to do one outside fundraiser. And so and this is a question I have, I don't know the answer to answer your question, but I will say that's very common that a lot of times fundraisers are happening before the start of football season, right? Fundraisers are happening right before certain kids either stay on the team or they leave the team. But if that happens, it generally happens year after year after year. So yes, seniors might be selling, but they're choosing to sell, and the money does go back to the dance team for the following year. And that is very common for all the clubs, that sometimes they are raising money for the club, just as the seniors did the previous year for the club. Very common.
I guess I would ask, what's the central issue?
Well, the central, for me, it's two parts. It's seniors buying boxes of candy and not turning in the money to the school. Where's the accountability? And then the ones that, I'm just asking if that's a possibility when I look at that with seniors and that are selling boxes of candy, are they guaranteed to be giving the money that they're, what are they raising for if they're not
Let's
coming
explain
back?
the process of that first point. I think it's really important. Our coaches are inventorying who takes what and how much that costs against how much should come back in. The coach knows exactly which dancer or athlete has how much and how much they're responsible for turning that back in. If that doesn't happen, that's a real issue, and the high school athletic department and Dr. Beelan's team will address that.
Okay, so freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, are they, if they're selling, are they
The days of old dance team money collecting drama ended a year and a half ago. The shift they're running is extremely tight, and the oversight Mr. Altmeier's office is putting on athletics of the concern of a prior dance coach that no longer exists. That's the concern. I don't know if it is, I'm jumping.
And that's part of it, but then we've got girls that are selling candy for a program, are they then automatically then going to be on the dance team? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, they're selling for a future season.
I don't believe that exists, and I would be really hesitant to, I think that's a dangerous place to go to make that assumption. I don't think just because you sell earns you a spot on the team. Our coaches we have the expectation that our coaches have a higher level of integrity than that. And Dr. Beelan, I know he agrees with me, and Mr. Wilson and his office is charged with ensuring that the best dancers make the team by placing the best coaches in front. I don't have that concern.
But what that means is but the fundamental thing is fundraising doesn't mean it's always necessarily for your benefit. I mean, it's the benefit of the whole. You're on a team, you're part of an organization. It's a premise to me that you're giving here is that it needs to be like for that person's benefit. Why are we having them raise money? Well, what's the matter with raising money for the common good of their teammates? And then if they're graduating, it could possibly be wrong with that. I don't see anything fundamentally wrong with that.
Has something happened?
No, when I looked at this and we haven't approved this as a board. The sales are already taking place. And there are, like I said, I know there are seniors that are selling this, and I'm like, well, what are they gonna do with this money? So they're not, that's, I
To
think
your
that was
point,
the biggest one.
they should not be selling as it has not been approved by the school board. Dr. Beelan talks with the athletic office to make sure that does not happen in the future. But I think we have to be careful. We can't jump to, make an assumption that someone's going to do bad if we don't have proof that that's happening.
Right.
I don't want that cloud in the dance team, so if there's a concern, I'm happy to address it.
Okay. And so we've got 93 boxes and $5,000, but that's that's before our expenses, correct? So,
Correct. But please understand, so we ask all fundraisers to be approved 45 days in advance of the beginning of the fundraiser. And this fundraiser was approved at the building level and approved at the finance level, unfortunately, based on the timing of this. The reason it's coming to the board is because the board has to approve revenue contracts, meaning anything over $1,000 received from an outside vendor for a fundraiser, the board approves. That's state code. And so you're approving acceptance of this money from the World's Chocolate or whoever the organization is. That is what the board is approving. The fundraiser is essentially already been approved via the building approval as well as the finance approval. So on the dates here, you could see that those dates are 1/13 and 1/25. So making the statements that, well, they can't sell because it hasn't come to board for board to approve the revenue coming in. And I get it, but it's a technicality and based on timing of board meetings and whatnot. And by the time forms get into the system to be present on the website, that's why you're seeing it now. So sometimes we will have this situation.
okay. So, and thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So that, you know, it just, that helps to make sense. And that, like I said, that was my initially was like, but dance isn't even in season. There isn't necessarily a dance.
Yeah, but very, very common, right?
Okay.
A lot of the teams outside of season, because they're in season, right, they do their fundraising.
They're doing what they're doing.
They're doing what they're doing.
All right, any other questions concerning the revenue contract? Now, we'll move that forward to the board for approval. 9.5 is the IHSA 23-24 renewal formality, right?
Formality, and again, with, if you recall, 2 years ago, IHSA had put in a graduated, if you will, recovery plan. Last year, they stopped that because actually revenues had picked up after the pandemic and all of those things. We did not need to pay any membership fees last year. That is continuing again for this next school year as well. So you'll note that there's no fee to approve there on this one because I will guess that for the 2024-25, we probably will go back to having to pay those state entry fees and the membership. But that was a 3-year graduated plan, and after that first year, entry, they don't have to pay those fees. So this is just, again, the approval to participate in. There will be a form that needs to be signed by the board, Dr. Beelan, and then we'll pack it for approval next week. So it's just a formality.
Are you okay? IHSA approval, yep. Okay, we'll move that forward. Item 9.6 is the IE.
Yep.
SA, same deal.
Same deal, and this just lists out what we would be paying for those membership things. And we did add in there the potential for, as we did the chess this year, we had a team do very well, and the team do really well. So hopefully that expands for next year. And then there is golf and bowling. Bowling will be taking place this month and next month. So hopefully that continues to grow. But we did put those in there just so that we wouldn't have to bring back any potentials down the road next school year. So looking forward to those things. So again, just a formality, and those will be paid if approved throughout the school year.
Okay. Really good. ISA, yes, we're all good. We'll get forward to the board. 9.6 is the, page. The end of finance. Pretty soon enough. Okay. Item 10, Board of Education, 10.1 minutes. If the minutes from February 2nd, 9th, October 13th, and do we have any questions related to the minutes? As far as moving them forward, now we'll move that forward. Item 11, I believe we do not need to be going into closed session tonight, so we'll bypass that, which leads us to item 12, next page 13, adjournment. Make a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:59. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Mary. Iannarino. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.